This is Marcelo Vignali. I've got another question. And this question is I've been working on my skills as a character designer for several years now, and I just can't seem to get any steady work. Do you do you think my work is well, he's asking, is my work good enough? Should I give up? This is a really tough question. And this was actually the reason why I wanted to do some of these in video form because I think a lot of people go through some of these very tough questions, and sometimes it's even tough to ask. Kudos to this person for feeling comfortable enough and trusting me enough that I would have a that I could give them and offer them a suggestion. Now, typically, this is the part where I would jump in and say, you can never give up. You got to keep on going. You got to keep on trying. And I think it's a wonderful sentiment. And in many cases, that is true, right? A lot of us, we simply have to persevere. If you want to succeed, you have to persevere. That's an important component of success. But in other cases, it becomes very difficult for some people. For some people, they're never going to get their skills to that level. It's sort of like that, like athletes. And one of the sports I love to watch is boxing. And you get to see these people. They're fantastic, and they do really well in the amateurs. And once they step up that competition, they can't seem to break through. And what do you do? When is it that you get to that point where you say, I can't continue with this anymore? And that's what I want to talk about. Think about the type of work that you're going to be doing, the type of work that you're going to do in animation. There's You have to work hard. You have to work hard to get it. And this is the first part of that talk, which is that you need to get yourself over that hump. You have this goal, you have this idea about who you want to be as an artist, and you want to attain that. You want to reach that goal. You want to grab that brass ring. And so what you do is you plan for that. You train hard for that, and you have to be tenacious. You have to hold on in order to get yourself in over the hump, to be an elite artist, to be an elite designer. And sometimes it's, hey, you know what? You have to find a different teacher, a teacher that's going to get you to the next level. That was one of the things I did early on in my career, which was there was somebody that I knew that I wanted to work with. And I saw this, when I looked at his work and I said, wow, this person is doing something that I would like to, I'd like to learn from, I'd like to study from. So my quest wasn't, who was going to pay me more, but it was who was going to get me to that next level. Then you find a teacher. This is the person. This is the person that's going to get me to the next level. Or there's a class that's being taught. And you say, I need to take this class because this class is going to get me to the next level. That's where your focus is, and you strive for that, and you persevere for that. And you have to be prepared. Is that what you want to do? Are you willing to go that extra mile and to be exceptional? Because very few people in the business are able to do that. When you think of character designers in television animation, we have several of them. But once you get into feature animation, there are only a select group of these people, and you have to be good enough to compete with them, to compete with the best in the business. You need to be able to lock horns with them and compete with them at their level. Are you willing to do the hard work to get there? Do you have the capacity to get there? Because you can say like, wow, I have all this drive, I have all this passion, I love animation, but you have to be truthful with yourself. Do you have the capacity to be that person? Do you have the capacity to be an elite designer? What if the answer is no? What if the answer is no? You know that. You would know better than anyone. There, but I want to stress that there are a lot of different jobs in animation. There's not just one job. You have to be a character designer. And there's something that you can ask yourself. Say, well, am I willing to make a course correction? Am I willing to make an adjustment? My goal was to work as a character designer in animation, and now I can't reach my goal. What am I prepared to do? Some people, that's they make an adjustment. Let's say that there's the guy that trains to be a fighter and is never able to crack that level and be an elite fighter, but they love the game so much they stay in it. They become a trainer. You have other people that they want to be a fighter pilot, but perhaps they're too big. They're just physically have all the capacity, everything. It's just genetically they're just too big to fit inside the cockpit, but they've got the reflexes. They've got the ability to handle stress under pressure, but they just can't do that job. And then what do? So there is a place for them, and they find a place and how they can fit in this process. Well, you may need to do the same thing too. You may need to make an adjustment and say, okay, well, I can't be an elite designer, but what can I do? I love animation. I want to work in animation. What can I do? And you make an adjustment. So there's a lot of things that when you think of the kinds of jobs that you have in animation, you've got writing, you've got producing, you've got storyboards. And storyboards turn into a pathway for directorship. There's managing projects, there's managing people. You can work in recruiting, where they do hiring to bring people on board. You can be doing a portfolio reviews for the company. So you're looking at a lot of artwork as it's coming through the studio. This is something that you love. You love animation artwork. You can be looking at that as well. There's editing. You can be doing editing for a movie once it moves into that phase when they put what's called an avid together and they start putting the film together in reels to look at. There's also the person that's doing color, and you're doing the painting color keys to painting characters in color. You also have model building and building things, assets in CG. There's also tech work. Let's say you're good at art, but you know what? You're really better at tech. As a matter of fact, your friends call you for tech advice. You're like the tech guy. You ever thought about that? Using that to get into animation? Yeah, there's room for. I mean, there's so many different jobs that are offered in animation, and it's important to find out where you fit in, and you can still be part of this. You may need to have to retool some of your goals, but that doesn't mean that you can't get there. That doesn't mean that can't be there for you. Uh, that animation is closed to you. It just means that you may need to do some readjusting. You also have there's a saying, well, there's a song, I should say, the Rolling Stones, and it says that you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might find that you get what you need. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to figure out, well, this is something I can't get, but is there something I can get? Can I get something that I need? I want to work in animation. I have to work in animation. Can I get that? Can I get that at that level? And uh, there's a dear friend of mine who started working at Disney Features, and he was working in the copy room. He was an artist, and he had all this desire to be a character designer and to do artwork and did beautiful work, but couldn't get in. Started out in the mailroom. Your quintessential story of starting out in the mailroom and working your way up. Guess what? He did it, and it was possible, and he made that happen. And today he's working, does storyboards, does character designs. You also have another fellow that dear friend of mine who started out working as a security guard. And I found out that, wait, what, you draw as well? Sure, yeah. And he showed me a sketchbook and he was asking me, how can I get myself better? And so I started giving him little assignments. I started giving him model sheets and he would draw from these. And he was always drawing in his sketchbook. He got to the point where both he and his brother were able to work in animation, doing animation cleanup, and he worked in animation, the golden era of animation. It's a fantastic story, but that opportunity was there. I mean, he reached out for that ring, but he got himself into that opportunity. He made that happen because he took that job in security. So sometimes, like your pathway to get you where you want to go, sometimes you may need to take a couple steps back in order to do that. And other times you just make goal assessments and goal changes as you're working your way through. And then there's the other aspect, which is the hobby artist. Uh, Not everybody's cut out to work in animation. Some people just aren't. social. They're artists, and artists have a tendency to want to work by themselves and want to work alone. They don't like to work with other people. And animation is a team sport. You have to know how to work well with other people. You have to know how to work in a team. Uh, and I think sometimes that the we have this idea about working in animation, but maybe you don't have the temperament for it. Maybe this is something that is very difficult for you. Like it's difficult for you to take direction. You love drawing your own thing, but you don't like somebody telling you what to do. Or sometimes, and this is what commercial art is. Commercial art, you have a client that's telling you, and they say, "This is what we expect of you." And we're going to give you a deadline. So perhaps it's deadlines or it's art direction. Maybe those things are very difficult. There was another artist that I knew. He was a fantastic artist, and when I was training with him, and we were doing figure drawing. He was brilliant. So I asked him. I said, where did you work?" And he said, "Oh well, I worked as a dentist." What? He said, "Yeah." He said, I worked my whole life as a dentist, and now that I've retired, I'm mainly doing art. But I've always been doing art as a hobby. And this was amazing. This was startling for me that somebody with that kind of power, that kind of skill, and the beauty of his artwork was all centered around that. He knew that he couldn't compromise this. This was too precious for him, and he couldn't compromise it. And it was easier for him to go and be a dentist and do this and provide for his family and continue to do this art as a hobby on the side. Look, some people like to take photographs as a hobby. Other people like to go hiking, kayaking. Other people, just have different hobbies, bird watching. But some people like art and they continue to do art. And then when they retire, they've got something that they completely focus on. But maybe that's who you are as well. So, look, to answer that question, going back to the very beginning, you've hit this adversity. Should you quit? Truth of the matter is, nobody can answer that question but you. You have to know yourself. And now you have some options to consider, whether or not, where you are in this stage, where you are, what is it that you want, and how is it that you can attain your goal, or maybe reassess your goal, or even just restructure your goal. I hope that helps. God bless. Take care. Bye bye.